Throughout high school, I was relentlessly bullied, and my mom did nothing to help because she was dating my tormentor's dad. Now, at 22, I've spent the last 4 years away from home, moving out for college at 18, then landing a job that kept me from returning. I'd visit occasionally, but truthfully, I didn't miss the place where I grew up. My childhood and teenage years were anything but pleasant. Growing up without my dad, who passed away when I was 10, meant I had a difficult upbringing. We managed to put food on the table every day, but that was about it. I was also tall and thin, which led to more bullying. Kids called me Slender Man and other hurtful names. I tried to brush it off, but it stung deeply. Things worsened in high school, where a group of girls took special pleasure in tormenting me. They bullied everyone, sure, but I seemed to be their favorite target. Their cruelty made me insecure about everything, from my weight to my entire existence. I wished I could just disappear. One incident stands out. My jeans ended right above my ankles because they were too short for my height, but I didn't want to ask my mom for a new pair. The girls wouldn't stop mocking me, and I ended up running to the girls' bathroom, locked in a stall, sobbing. When I finally tried to leave, I discovered the door was locked from the outside. I could hear their laughter as I banged on the door, and I didn't get out until a janitor came by. I told my mom about the bullying early on, but instead of supporting me, she insisted I stay quiet and ignore it. She explained we couldn't afford to pick fights, claiming she was too busy working to address my issues at school. Not only that, but she forbade me from complaining, fearing it would involve the parents of the girls. I didn't want to let it slide, but I felt I owed it to her to keep my mouth shut, knowing how hard she worked. After high school, I left for college in another state, and it felt like a much-needed fresh start. My dad had set up a college fund before his death, so I was financially secure. I even picked up a part-time job that allowed me to buy some new clothes. College was a much more welcoming environment, and for the first time, no one bullied me. I enjoyed the holidays back home, but the memories of my childhood were still too painful. Fast forward to a couple of days ago, I returned home for Christmas, excited to surprise my mom with a beautiful dress and matching shoes, a token of appreciation for all she had done for me during tough times. But before I could present my gift, my mom had a surprise for me. She messaged me a few days before my arrival, revealing she had been seeing someone for a couple of months and wanted to introduce him to me. I was genuinely happy for her, considering she had been single for so long after my dad passed. Still, I found it odd that she hadn't mentioned him before, but I tried not to take it personally. When I got home, she blindfolded me to lead me to the living room, eager to meet her mystery man, but when she removed the blindfold, my heart sank. Standing in front of me was the very girl who had bullied me throughout high school, now smiling like nothing had happened. She was with her younger brother, and I felt dizzy as I tried to process it. I heard her dad talking, but his words faded into the background as I was overcome with disbelief. I turned and walked away while he continued to speak, retreating to my room without saying a word. My mom's boyfriend asked if I was okay, but I couldn't respond. I locked myself in my room, desperate for some space. Moments later, my mom knocked on the door, scolding me for being rude and insisting I apologize to her boyfriend. I interrupted her, demanding to know how long she had been seeing him. Her hesitation told me everything I needed to know, and when she admitted it had been nearly 7 years, everything fell into place. She had chosen to protect him and his daughter over me all those years. I couldn't believe she had let me endure bullying while keeping this secret. I snapped at her, saying I didn't want to see her right now. She tried to explain that she kept it from me because she knew I missed my dad, but I couldn't believe that was her reasoning. The truth was that she had lied to me throughout my teenage years while allowing the bullying to continue, even though she could have stopped it. She chose to stay silent and let me endure the bullying rather than confronting her boyfriend and asking him to teach his daughter to treat others with respect. I can't see myself forgiving her for that, now or ever. She tried to explain that when their relationship was just beginning, she didn't want to jeopardize it over his daughter's behavior. She attempted to justify her actions, but I simply couldn't accept her reasoning. Eventually, she left, saying she'd be ready to talk once I came out of my room and that dinner would be served at 9 o'clock. I had no interest in speaking to her or anyone else. I was appalled and furious that my mother had prioritized her boyfriend over me. She should have been focused on protecting me, not her relationship. I couldn't fathom how she thought her explanation would ease my pain in this situation. The more I sat there, the more I recalled the countless nights I cried myself to sleep in that very bed. The unfairness of it all fueled my anger. In a moment of rashness, I called the police and reported my mother. I wanted to pursue legal action against her for the emotional turmoil she had caused me, but instead of consulting a lawyer in my distressed state, I ended up calling the cops to press charges. They arrived a short while later, and it took me time to explain everything while my mother and her boyfriend downplayed the situation, claiming I was just being hysterical. The officers understood I was having a breakdown and advised me to seek a family lawyer before leaving. After they departed, my mother erupted in anger, refusing to let me return to my room. She yelled at me for being an ungrateful brat, insisting that calling the police was the lowest blow, while her boyfriend agreed that I had overstepped. I wanted to argue back, but my chest felt tight, and dizziness overwhelmed me. At some point, I must have fainted because the next thing I knew, I was waking up in the ER. Apparently, I had lost consciousness from lack of food and water combined with stress. I hadn't eaten or drunk anything during my stay at my mom's house, so it made sense. A nurse informed me that I had been out for about an hour and that my mother had been waiting to see me. I felt a pang of guilt, but it faded when she walked in and told me that even though she understood my feelings of betrayal, she still believed that her actions were justified. She downplayed the bullying, claiming her boyfriend's daughter didn't mean any harm and that it was all just good fun, suggesting I shouldn't have taken it to heart. I couldn't believe she was defending her actions and my bully, even in my fragile state, and expected me to apologize for trying to get her in trouble with the law. I told her to leave my room and let me be. It's been a few days since then, and I've packed my things and moved to a hotel for the remainder of my visit. My mother didn't try to stop me. Now I'm contemplating suing her for the emotional distress she intentionally caused me throughout high school and for denying me a safe home environment despite having the opportunity to provide one. I'm hesitant because it would likely ruin our relationship, and I have no other family to turn to. But I can't just let this go. I've let so much slide in my life, but this is too significant to forgive, and no matter how I try to see it from her perspective, I can't justify her actions. Update 1. I discovered more about my mother and her boyfriend. I confided in a friend about everything that had transpired, and while she was shocked, she revealed that the whole neighborhood knew what was going on. Apparently, her dad had been cheating on his wife with my mother for years, since the start of my freshman year. In fact, people spotted them together at their workplace, where my mother worked as a front desk employee and he was a surgeon. It's infuriating that so many people knew while I remained oblivious, and I regretted being such an introvert. I was disgusted to learn that my mother had an affair with a married man while preaching about family loyalty. Her hypocrisy was maddening. From what I've gathered, her boyfriend left his wife a few months ago, and now he and his younger son are living with my mother. His daughter, my high school bully, moved away around the same time I did, so she likely knows nothing of this new arrangement. So, when my mother claimed this was a new relationship, she was lying to me about it only being a few months when it had actually been 8 years. I'm just so repulsed by all of this. She hasn't reached out to me, not even to apologize. Update 2. I went through with it. I'm suing my mother for emotional distress. My bosses agreed to let me work remotely during the lawsuit, which was a relief. I didn't want to drain my savings on hotel bills, so I'm staying with a friend who was more than happy to have me back. My mother was notified of the lawsuit a few hours ago, and she's furious. She called to demand to know what I was thinking, and I told her plainly, I'm seeking revenge for abandoning me when I needed her the most. She didn't stand by me then, so now she'll have to pay for her neglect. After all, she was always quick to remind me that we were poor and too busy for complaints, so now she'll face the consequences of her choices. I feel I deserve some compensation. At the very least, it would also be incredibly helpful to cover the therapy I'll likely need in the future. My mother accused me of being ungrateful, insisting that what she did was perfectly fine, and that I'd end up losing. Yet, she sounded uncertain, so I doubt she fully believes I'll fail. Even if I do lose, I'll take comfort in knowing that I stood up for myself instead of just accepting her dismissive attitude, as she has urged me to do my entire life. I'm reaching out to old classmates and teachers, hoping they'll support me in this lawsuit. So far, I haven't heard anything from my mother's boyfriend or my high school bully, and I hope it stays that way because I really don't want to deal with them right now. Update 3. I spoke too soon about my bully staying out of this situation. In the last 2 days, my mother has bombarded me with messages, claiming I'm making a mistake and that I'll regret this decision, but there's no going back now. Today, Her boyfriend's daughter came to visit, presumably as a peace offering. Given that she was the root of my bullying, my mother must have thought that sending her to apologize would magically fix everything. Tough luck, Mom, it's not that simple. When she arrived, it felt incredibly awkward. I didn't want to hear her apology. I'd made peace with hating her forever, as her taunts still haunt me, and I doubt they ever will stop. She started by saying she was sorry for how she'd acted in high school, admitting she was immature and asking for my forgiveness. I didn't truly mean it, but I told her I forgave her and asked her to leave. However, she lingered, suggesting that since I'd forgiven her, I should also forgive my mother, just as she had forgiven her dad for cheating on her mom. The only reason she had forgiven her father was for his wealth. She wanted to be in his life for the money. Her mother didn't contest the divorce either, thanks to the substantial settlement and ongoing alimony. So, I doubt her emotional connection to her father played a significant role in her forgiveness. It was mostly about the bank balance. When I pointed this out, she flushed with anger and accused me of being jealous that my mother had never spent a dime on me, while her dad provided her with a monthly allowance. I mean, we were poor, but she had an extra source of income through her wealthy boyfriend, and she mostly spent that money on herself in secret. It was obvious my high school bully hadn't intended to reveal that, and her expression showed regret as soon as the words left her lips, but we both knew this would come up in court. I told her to leave me alone, and she did, warning me that I was making a mistake by cutting out the only family I had. Thankfully, I don't consider my mother's family my own anymore. If she had just supported me when I needed her, I might have regretted distancing myself from her, but if she had been there for me, we wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. Her self-centeredness brought us here. Update 4. Hey, everyone, it's been a challenging couple of weeks, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I've been juggling my day job and collaborating with my lawyer to build my case against my mother. The hearing date is approaching quickly, and so far, I've managed to prove that all my claims are true. My mother's boyfriend is footing the bill for her lawyer, and he hired a top-notch family attorney, which has made this process longer than it should be, but I know I'm in the right, so I'm determined to get what I deserve. I'm feeling overwhelmed, but I can only hope this final meeting goes well. If it does, I'll finally be free of my mother. She's stopped contacting me, and her boyfriend and daughter have been spreading lies about me online, attempting to turn others against me. Luckily, the truth is on my side, and the image I had as an underdog in high school is working in my favor, as people refuse to believe I'm the ungrateful brat they want to paint me as. I just want to win this case. It would mean so much to me, not just financially, but emotionally. It would signify a victory over the bullies who tried to ruin my life, and it would all be worth it. Update 5. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and I'm thrilled to announce that my mother has been ordered to pay me $50,000 in damages for the emotional distress she caused me. I won. I can hardly believe it, but it's true. Naturally, I paid my lawyer first and gave my friend, who let me stay with her, a small token of appreciation. Next week, I'll be flying back to my real home, finally leaving this all behind. My mother and her boyfriend are not taking it well, as evident from their social media rants about how disappointed they are that the law punished her for trying her best as a parent, all while accusing me of being greedy and immoral. My high school bully has blocked me, but honestly, their opinions no longer matter. I won, and they lost, and that's a defeat they'll have to carry for the rest of their miserable lives.